Ghostly tales, yet mirrors of human life. Hey everyone! Welcome to Encountering Chinese, Ghostly Tales from Zhai. Today, I'm going to tell you two short stories. The first story is titled White Lotus Sect. There was a man from Shaanxi in the White Lotus Sect, whose name I have forgotten. He resembled Shu Hongru, the leader of the White Lotus Sect. This man often used unorthodox methods to deceive the people, and those who admired his magical abilities would become his disciples. One day, as the man from Shaanxi was preparing to leave, he placed a basin in the hall, covering it with another basin. He instructed a disciple to sit beside it and guard it, strictly forbidding the disciple from lifting the cover to peek inside. After he left, out of curiosity, the disciple lifted the cover and saw clear water inside the basin. Floating on the water was a finely crafted grass-woven boat, complete with mast and sail, looking exquisite and adorable. Intrigued, the disciple used his fingers to play with the boat, accidentally tipping it over. Terrified, the disciple quickly restored the boat to its original position and covered the basin again. Soon, the man from Shaanxi returned and angrily reprimanded the disciple, asking why he had disobeyed his command. The disciple immediately defended himself, claiming he hadn't disobeyed. The man from Shaanxi then said, "Earlier, the boat in the sea capsized. How could you deceive me?" Another night, the man from Shaanxi lit a large candle in the hall. He cautioned his disciple to carefully guard the candle and prevent it from being extinguished by the wind before leaving. As the night wore on and the man still hadn't returned, the disciple grew extremely tired and decided to rest on the bed for a while. However, upon waking up, the disciple found that the large candle had been extinguished. Hastily, he got up and relit it. Not long after, the man from Shaanxi returned and once again reproached the disciple. The disciple protested. "I really didn't sleep. How could the candle have gone out?" The man from Shaanxi, angered, retorted, "You made me walk over 10 miles in the darkness just now, and now you dare deceive me." The disciple was greatly horrified upon hearing this. There were many more strange incidents like this, too numerous to recount. Later, the man from Shaanxi discovered that his beloved concubine was having an affair with his disciple. Although he knew about it, he pretended not to and kept silent. He sent his disciple to feed the pigs, and as soon as the disciple entered the pigsty, he immediately transformed into a pig. The man from Shaanxi promptly called the butcher to slaughter the pig, and the meat was sold without anyone knowing its origin. Concerned about his son's absence, the disciple's father came to the temple to inquire about his whereabouts. The man from Shaanxi lied, claiming that the disciple hadn't been to the temple for a long time. Despite the efforts of the disciple's family to search for him, there was still no news. A fellow member who knew the truth secretly revealed the situation to the disciple's father. Consequently, the disciple's father reported the man from Shaanxi to the county magistrate. Fearing the man from Shaanxi might escape, the magistrate dared not arrest him but reported the matter to higher authorities. The higher officials dispatched 1,000 soldiers, surrounded his residence, and captured his wife and children as well. The soldiers imprisoned the man from Shangshi's family in wooden cages on carts, preparing to escort them to the capital for trial. Along the way, as they passed through the Taihang Mountains, a giant suddenly appeared. The giant was as tall as a tree, with eyes as large as bowls, a mouth as big as a basin, and teeth about a foot long. The soldiers were petrified and dared not move forward. The man from Shangshi told the soldiers, "This is a monster, and my wife can defeat it." Following his instructions, the soldiers released his wife. Armed with a spear, his wife approached the giant, enraging it, and in a single breath, it swallowed her whole. Witnessing this, the soldiers became even more terrified. The man from Shangshi said, "Since it has killed my wife, now my son is needed to defeat it." Consequently, the soldiers released the man from Shangshi's son, who was also devoured just like his mother. Everyone present was at a loss, not knowing what to do. The man from Shangshi, crying and angry, said, "This monster has killed my wife and son. How can I stand by? Now, I must personally take action." Reluctantly, the soldiers released him from the cage and gave him a weapon, sending him into battle. The giant approached menacingly, and after a prolonged battle, it once again captured the man from Shangshi and swallowed him whole. Stretching its neck, it devoured the man from Shangshi before leaving calmly. The second story is titled, Two Lamps. Wei Yunwang was a native of Penshuan village in Idu Prefecture, born into a prominent family. However, as the fortunes of the Wei family declined, they could no longer afford to educate him. Wei Yunwang ceased his studies in his 20s and began working with his father-in-law, selling wine. One night, Wei Yunwang was sleeping alone in the wine shop when he suddenly heard footsteps downstairs. Startled, he sat up, listening intently. The footsteps grew closer, ascending the stairs, each step louder than the last. Before long, he saw two maidservants carrying lamps approaching his bed. Behind them was a young scholar, leading a young lady. The two approached the bed with smiles on their faces. Wei Yunwang was greatly surprised, but then he thought they might be fox spirits. With this in mind, he stood up straight, too afraid to look them in the eyes. The scholar smiled and said to Wei Yunwang, "You don't need to be suspicious. My sister has a karmic connection with you from a past life, which is why I brought her here." Wei Yunwang glanced at the scholar, dressed in splendid attire, feeling ashamed of his own humble appearance and filled with embarrassment, unsure of how to respond. The scholar then left the lamp behind and departed with the maidservants. Wei Yunwang gazed at the young lady under the light of the lamp, finding her charming and ethereal like a fairy. He felt a strong affection for her but also felt ashamed and unable to jest. The young lady looked at Wei Yunwang and said with a smile, "You're not just a bookworm, so why act so humble?" She then approached the bed, placing her hand in Wei Yunwang's embrace for warmth. Wei Yunwang finally smiled and grew closer to her. Before the morning bells rang, the two maidservants came to take the young lady away. Wei Yunwang made an appointment to meet her again at night. True to her word, the young lady came again at night, smiling as she said, "Where did you get such luck, my foolish boy? Getting such a beautiful woman without spending a penny, and she even comes to you willingly every night." Seeing no one else around, Wei Yunwang felt happy and brought out wine for them to drink, playing games together. However, the young lady won 9 out of 10 times. The young lady smiled and said, "Why don't I be the banker, and you guess? If you guess correctly, you win. If not, you lose. If I guess, you won't have a chance to win." Wei Yunwang followed the young lady's suggestion, and they happily played into the late night. When it was time to sleep, the young lady told Wei Yunwang, "Last night, I found your bedding here uncomfortable and cold." She then had the maidservants bring out the blankets they had brought, spreading them out on the bed, luxurious and fragrant. Soon, they undressed and lay close together. From then on, they spent every day like this. Half a year later, Wei Yunwang returned home. It was a moonlit night, and he was talking with his wife by the window when suddenly he saw the young lady, dressed in splendid attire, sitting on the wall and waving to him. Approaching her, she grabbed his hand and led him over the wall. Holding Wei Yunwang's hand, the young lady told him, "Today, we must part ways. Please walk with me for a few steps, to symbolize the affection we've shared over the past 6 months." Surprised, Wei Yunwang asked for the reason, but the young lady replied, "The ties of fate are predetermined. Do I need to explain more?" As they conversed, they reached the outskirts of the village, where the two maidservants were waiting with lamps. They continued on to the southern mountain, ascending to a high point, where the young lady bid farewell to Wei Yunwang. Knowing he couldn't keep her, Wei Yunwang let her go. He stood there, feeling restless, watching as the lamps held by the maidservants flickered, gradually receding into the distance until they disappeared from sight. Eventually, feeling melancholic, he returned home. That night, the 2 lamps on the mountain were seen by all the villagers. Alright. That's all for today's ghostly tales. White Lotus Sect and 2 Lamps. If you enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. Please also encourage everyone to comment and share more. We'll see you in the next episode.